Hi there, lovely viewers. Welcome to the Menopausal Vegan, your go-to destination for all things plant-powered and menopause related. Today, I'd like to talk with you about menopause and hormone replacement therapy. I never thought that I would be someone on hormone replacement therapy. I've always distrusted medicine to a certain extent and preferred to do things in a more natural way, to take a preventative approach, to use diet, exercise and other lifestyle strategies to prevent and treat any kind of illnesses that I suffered from. And menopause was no different to start with. When I first went into perimenopause in my mid-40s and my periods started to get less frequent and quite erratic, as well as periods becoming less frequent, I also started to suffer from other symptoms of menopause. I would have hot flushes, I had a lot of night sweats and they really disrupted my sleep. It would be very common for me to only get 2 or 3 hours sleep each night because I was waking up so often in a puddle of sweat. And this would be in the middle of winter, and if you know Christchurch winters, we didn't have heating in our bedroom, so the temperature in there would have been no more than maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 degrees, but I would be drenched and I would have to throw off the covers, the sheets would be wet, I'd have to get up, go to the toilet, try and cool myself down before I could attempt to go back to sleep, and I wasn't always able to manage to get back to sleep once I'd been woken up. And on top of that, I was teaching, so I would have to get up in the morning, I would have to go in and deal with very young children all day. And so this was really not sustainable. I also started to suffer from joint pain. I've had bunions my whole life and they've never given me any problems. I was absolutely fine with them. I've got very ugly feet, but I kind of overcame that and have just been using my feet in a very utilitarian way to get me around, and they've done a really good job. But all of a sudden, I couldn't get through the day. My feet were so sore by the end of the day. And part of that might have been because I was also putting on weight. So my feet were having to carry around a much heavier weight. But I think it was also those changes, those hormonal changes during menopause. I also started to suffer from stress incontinence. So when I would cough or sneeze or engage in some kind of intense physical exertion, I would leak urine. And so this was another big factor in my work life, in my exercise, just in my daily social life. And then came mood disturbances. I wasn't coping with the stress at work. I had a very stressful situation with another colleague, which thankfully has now been resolved, but that carried on for a couple of years and it really took its toll. That took its toll on my ability to sleep, it took its toll on my state of mind, my ability just to cope with everyday life. I was stress eating, I couldn't cope with relationship difficulties, and started to get me really down. I started to feel quite a lot of anxiety about the future, about my health, my partner's health, what was happening with my children. Everything in the world was a big problem and caused me a lot of stress. So I did what I have found has always worked for me in the past. Whenever I've had any kind of health issue, I researched different dietary approaches, I looked at other lifestyle factors, I went to a sleep specialist to see if they could help me to get some more sleep and I went really hard out in terms of my sleep hygiene. I looked at different supplements that could help. Once I had all the information together, I put them into practice and tried my very best to make it work. And it made zero difference. It really didn't help me at all. It was just adding more stress by having to do all of these extra things. So in the end, I put my research skills to practice and decided to look at hormone replacement therapy. And I hadn't considered it before, but I'd come to the stage where I thought, well, what have I got to lose by just investigating it? I was really desperate, and I thought maybe all the things I've heard in the past about it, all the things that the health experts, the natural health experts say about it, maybe they're exaggerating. And so I read some books, I watched some YouTube videos from some experts in menopause, and I found that indeed the health risks associated with hormone replacement therapy had been completely over exaggerated. I discovered that the research that these health fears were based on had been done decades ago, and that they had interpreted it in a very negative way. That more modern interpretations of that same research have shown that there was very, very low risk to hormone replacement therapy. And in fact, there were even health benefits. Many women, after they reach the age of menopause, their health starts to decline in other ways. They become more at risk for heart disease. They become more at risk for osteoporosis. They become more at risk for Alzheimer's. And hormone replacement therapy helps prevent all of these things. The one thing that I was concerned about, based on this past research that was done decades ago, was breast cancer. And I discovered that there are new hormone replacement medications that are very different to previous medications that these studies were based on, that are much safer, and that also it depends a lot on when you start taking them. In these older studies, women were using an oral estrogen and an older type of progestogen. And it's important to look at the profile of women in the study also. The women were on average 63 years of age, so it had been longer than 10 years since most of them had gone into menopause. Many were overweight or obese and had had heart attacks in the past. There are so many different reasons why women develop breast cancer, not one single cause. Could be obesity, not exercising, drinking alcohol, your diet, lack of sleep. These are all independent risk factors for developing breast cancer in the future. And I personally, I don't drink at all. I don't smoke. I've never smoked. I lead an active life made possible by my hormone replacement therapy. I eat a plant-based diet, and my sleep is improving because of my hormone replacement therapy. So am I really at a greater risk for taking it? When you start hormone replacement therapy, within 10 years of going into menopause, the health risks are not the same. So I had already gone into menopause. I was a couple of years in, and I decided to give it a go. I went to my doctor, my GP, and although she was very sympathetic and she agreed to put me on hormone replacement therapy, she wanted me to go on a very low dose. She wasn't enthusiastic about the potential benefits for me. She wasn't confident that it could help me, and she prescribed a combination estrogen and progesterone pill. that I took. And I went on that for 3 months and it really helped. But in the meantime, I continued to do more research and I discovered that oral estrogen has more health risks than topical estrogen. And so I approached my doctor and I asked her to change me to a patch and to another form of progesterone that was also much safer, a micronized progesterone. And again, she agreed to do that for me, and she was a wee bit unsure, and so she referred me to a gynecologist. So I went to see a gynecologist, and the gynecologist confirmed that yes, I was on the right dose and that I was on the right type of medication. And it was really nice to have that conversation with her, because she was also able to reassure me that everything I'd read in books and that I'd seen on YouTube videos from other doctors was actually the case, in terms of the risk being extremely low and the benefits being very high. So I was really happy to continue on with hormone replacement therapy, and I'll show you. I'm currently on an estradiol patch like that, which just comes in these little packets that you open up, and then there's a little clear patch inside of them that you stick on your skin, normally on your belly. I also take eutregestone, which is a micronized form of progesterone, and so this is a little capsule that I take at bedtime. And while I was at the gynecologist, I also asked her about testosterone, because testosterone is something that I'd also read about in terms of women's health and how important it can be for libido and for energy and for mood and all these things that I've been really struggling with. And so she agreed to give me a trial run of testosterone. And so I've got a testosterone cream that I have just recently started rubbing on at night time, and it's a bit early to tell how effective that's been, what impact it's having on my life, but I'm really interested to see what happens for me, if that makes a difference. And so if you're interested in learning more about hormone replacement therapy, the pros and the cons, what I would suggest is looking up a woman called Dr. Louise Newson, and she's got some excellent videos on YouTube. She's also got a fantastic book that I would highly recommend. And then once you've done your homework, go and talk to your doctor or your gynecologist. So now that I've been on the estrogen patches and the progesterone for a while, I have noticed a huge improvement in my sleep and in my mood. It's not back to what it was. So I don't know, I might need to talk to my gynecologist or my doctor about increasing the dosage, but I am waiting to see how much impact the testosterone has on those things also. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. And if you'd like to see more information about anything menopause related or plant-based related or midlife related, please subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and let me know in the comments what you got out of this video, what you'd like to hear more about, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.